guys, welcome to the part 2 of my video. And here in the part 1 we looked at arrays, structures and union. In this video we'll be talking about functions. Alright, so functions. What are functions? So function is basically a block of code that only runs when you call it. Right, so um, let's take for example a button. Right, a button a button does something only when you press it. Right, so let's use that analogy to explain what a function is. So let's say a button to delete something. When you don't press it, or in terms of functions, when you don't call it, it's not going to do anything. Right, it only deletes or it only does what it's supposed to do once you press the button. Right, so that is how functions are in C++. Basically they help you break code into like reusable portions, and they make your code easier to read and easier to debug. Right, debugging is a term in programming where you try and diagnose your code and find out where the errors are popping up from. Right, so as a programmer you should learn how to debug, because I mean you are going to be facing a lot of bugs and errors and all that. So yeah, so functions. um there are types of functions, right? Then the first type of function we are going to be looking at is the void function. Right, so their functions are basically categorized into two: the ones that return a value after execution, and the one that doesn't return a value. And then the one that doesn't return a value is what we are going to be looking at first. That's the void function. Alright, so these are the syntaxes. So you call it before the main function. You write it before the main function. So void, then my function. Yeah. So what do we want the function to do? Um, oh god. So see out. Hello, you called me. You called me. Alright, good. Then now what do? We call it inside the main function. How do we call it? You type the name of the function. That is my function. My function, like this. Then you go like this. Alright, let's run it and see. Yeah, give it some time. Good. So yeah, as you can see, I call the function in the main function, and then it's doing what I told it to do. That anytime I call the function my function, it should display this: hello, you called me. Alright, so that is an example of what a void function is. You understand? The void there means the function does not have to return any value. Okay, as you can see over here in the main function, we see that at the end of it we see the return 0 to tell the computer that yeah, it has been able to run the function. So let's use this analogy. Right, you can send somebody, or you can be sent. Right, so let's say you send someone. There are three things the person can do, or two. Yes, so either the person goes on the errand and then comes back to give you a report, or the person goes and doesn't come back to give you any report. All right, at the end of the day what you ask the person to do has been done, hypothetically speaking, because you sent the person has gone to do whatever you ask the person to do. Either the person comes back to give you a report, or the person doesn't come back to give you a report. All right, yeah, so that is what a void function does. It does what you asked it to do, and it doesn't come back to give you a report. But then at the end of the day your task has been executed. And then the other the return type of function will come back and return or give you a feedback. Return zero means that yeah, it has been successfully done. Okay, so yeah, um so this part of the code, the void my function is referred to as the function declaration, and then this part refers to the function body. So whatever you want the function to do, you put it in the function body. Okay, and concerning functions, there are what we call parameters and then arguments. Okay, so parameters and arguments. What are parameters? So parameters are basically information passed to a function. The information passed to a function, or they act as variables inside the function. Okay, and then this is how we use them. So let's say um, I'm going to be displaying people's names. Okay, so I put a parameter here, a string name, because I'm going to be putting names there. I want the computer to display people's names. So hello, then comma, then I put the name of the variable here. Okay, so the this parameter serves as a placeholder, right? So is the variable that is there. So when I'm calling the function, right, when I'm calling the function, whatever name I want the function to display, I put it here. Because it's a string, I'm going to put whatever name I want to display over here. So eben. Okay, so then at the end of the day, this eben has been assigned to this variable name. And then when I call the function, it's going to run this line of code, and then it's going to be hello, then the name. And we know that the name is eben, right? So hello name, then eben. When I run it, I'm going to get eben. So the thing about function is that you can run this multiple times with different names and whatever values or information you want to put there, right? So Kofi, um, Kwame, yeah. Let's run it and see. Yes. So as you can see, the same function but then different arguments. So arguments are the values that you assign to the variable in the function or the parameter. So let's think of it like this: the parameter of a function is you declaring a variable inside the function, and then the parameter is you putting the value of the variable inside the called function. Okay, all right. So yeah, so this is called multiple parameters. Hey, sorry, multiple arguments, and you can do multiple parameters in the sense that um, let me put int age. So yeah, that's multiple parameters. You can add a lot, yeah, depending on what you are doing. So hello dash you are so and so, then yes, oh, okay. So I put a comma, then let me put 20 35, yeah, 22 or 20, let me give Kofi 22 comma 22. When I run this, okay, what may be wrong over here? Okay, so yeah, I didn't bring my end line. Let me do that. so that we can have something looking presentable and pleasant for all of us. Yeah, so yeah, hello Eben, you are 35 years old, and this is what we did. So my function Eben, comma 35. So hello Eben, you are 35 years old. Hello Kofi, you are 22 years old. Hello Kwame, you are 20 years old. Alright, so this multiple parameters can be two or more. When it's two or more, you call them multiple parameters. When it's just one, you just call it a single parameter. Then these are arguments, so multiple arguments, single argument. Alright, yeah. So that is it for the void function. The next type of function you are going to be looking at is the return function, the one that gives the computer feedback when the task has been executed. Okay, so yeah, let me. Oh, okay. So for the return type, this main function is an example of it, and then they normally start with the data types that we know of, right? So int, string, char, double, float. They start with that, and then your function name. So this, the main function is an example of a return type function. All right. So yeah, we already know what parameters are and then argument. So let's do some a function to add two values, right? So int add. I'm using int because at the end of the day, the results I'm going to get are going to be integers, right? So int add, let's say int a plus int b. Sorry, int a comma int b. Alright. Then what do I want to do? So I want to return a plus b. Right. What I'm telling the computer is that once I call this function, it should give me the feedback of the values of this addition. Right. So once I call this function, the computer is going to do this, and then it will give me the feedback. Alright. So yeah, let me call it here int add, let's say 20 comma 40. Okay, and I do 20 comma 40 int result, sorry. Yeah, so I would have to assign for the return types of function, you have to assign the function call to a variable, right? Because the at the end of the day, this whole function is going to be the value of this a plus b, right? And I want to display it, so I'll have to assign this to this variable result, and then I'll display it. So sum is result, right? Yeah, let's run this and see. Good. So sum is 70 because you have 30 comma 40, so 30 plus 40 is 70, so sum is result, right? So that is it for the return type. We have double, can do string depending on what you are going to be doing. All right, so yeah, that is it for this video. um in the next video we are going to be looking at um a real um problem, right? You are going to write a code to um replicate the admission system, right? And then everything is going to be done in the console. What do I mean by the console? The console is that black screen that pops up whenever I run a program. This black screen is what we call the console or the terminal. Alright. So yeah, in our next video, I'm going to be doing I'm going to be coding most of the time, right? University console admission platform. Alright. So yeah, where we are going to apply all that we've learned so far, from data types to arrays to functions to conditions to if statements to the switch case, variable declaration and variable assignments and all that. I'm going to apply them in that video. Alright. So thank you very much. Have a good day.